Let me see if we are back on. Appreciate everybody being patient here. I think we are on. Brian, if you can send me a message in the chat. Are we back on and live, or am I just talking to myself? But I appreciate everybody being patient with us. We've been having problems with Facebook. Apparently, it's been okay on YouTube, but not on Twitch, but not on Facebook. So, hey, Brian's back on, and Brian, you're on Facebook as well. No, okay. So Facebook ended, or are we just on YouTube and Twitch at this point? You can let me know. But we are on Twitch, YouTube. I don't know that we're back on Facebook or not. Okay, yeah, so we're on YouTube and Twitch. If you haven't yet liked the page, please go ahead and like the YouTube page and subscribe. There's no cost to it. You just click subscribe, and that'll be updated on when we're doing things on YouTube here. But oops, click this here. So I really do appreciate everybody with me. But if you're working on legislation, guys, you got. There's times where you think of a Senate hearing, and 5 minutes before the hearing is supposed to take place, the plans change until the next week. It's just a fact of life. You just have to get used to that when you're working on politics, and so this is to get people used to being adaptable. So let me go ahead and try this here. Let's see if it'll let me at least share the thing onto Facebook, so you can at least watch it there. All right, we do have a lot of more good information that we have. We're having a second here. We're going to have Dr. Jennings, who was the driving force of the Good Dad Act out in Florida, that was a template that we are now using for things like fathership in Missouri, in Washington State. Dr. Jennings is just a guy to work with. I love him because he's a collaborator. Parenting community, we're all in competition with each other. Guys, we are not in competition. Everyone has a strength and everyone has a weakness. So the fact that the strength that's better than you doesn't validate you. We have some partners. I love with he's always letting me on those. If you want to share something, come on in and share. But he's got a great team of people that he working with those guys. So, Dr. Bernard, thanks so much for coming on. I guess you did. But appreciate you coming on.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, start out. Give us a little bit on yourself. And I know you're very active in the business community there, but a little bit back on yourself for that, and then we're going to get into the book and the act that.
Well, I'm a regular dad. I live in South Florida in an area called Biscayne Gardens, about 15 minutes away in Miami. I serve as the president of the Biscayne Gardens Chamber of Commerce, where I help businesses get online and understand what they can achieve by working with the county government and Google. I also serve as chairman of the board of trustees of Florida Memorial University, which is the only agency in South Florida. I serve as a member of the City of North Carolina on the executive board. I've been as a young man in school. I was a second commander of that post, ended that time college, and I also serve as a member of the Foundation for Economic Development, which is not a political nonprofit counties housing and economic development office.
You've got a phenomenal background. So professional, just having you in the community. Yeah, go and tell us now a little bit about how you got involved, how you the Good Dad Act, and about your book.
Okay. It started years back. I was parenting with my son. He and his mom and for the first 5 years of his life, so everything's great. We broke up after 5 years. We don't always get along, and we started to break away. The relationship got a bit toxic, so we broke up. And she went on her way doing her thing. I went away doing my thing. She was traveling. She sold her townhouse, traveled the world on different things. And then this 2022, I decided I was found love, wife now. And when I sent out an invitation to friends and family, about a week later, my significant other decided she's no longer going to co-parent with me. She was getting married apparently. She came and she removed my son from the private school where he was and took him away to an unknown place or location. I couldn't find him about a month. Couldn't find my son. I went to school and from the private Montessori school I had him in. And when I got there, they said, he's been with school. I tried to call mom. She didn't answer. I said, I mean, he left, I picked him up. Today's my day. So she withdrew him. He's never come back. I said, what school is he going to? She wouldn't say. She said, it's going to be confidential. I tried to call her mother. Her mother answered the phone. Some of her friends answered the phone. I called her dad. He called her and let me know what she's saying. He called me back in about 5 minutes, still in school, wondering, like, where's my son? Can you imagine you go pick your kid from school and they're gone? And I spoke to her, but she said that she's not going to tell me where she's at, and she's not going to communicate with you anymore. It's a problem, not mine. You have to deal with it. So I was really worried. That snowballed into about a month of me searching for. I was able to get a hearing before a county judge. In that hearing online, the judge declared that, James, I know you're in the birth certificate. You showed pictures of yourself from birth. You have a copy of the DNA test. Went and took the initiative to do a DNA test of my own. I kept my son's teeth in a little buggy bag, a little bag, and his brush. And I did my own DNA test. You're the presumptive father. You're 99.9991% can't be excluded as a father, but you don't have any rights in the state of Florida. And that's true for not only the state of Florida, but I realized at that time, the entire United States don't have rights. And it's not that we were written in the law. They just forgot to put the law at all. So when the father steps up and wants to parent his child in the state of Florida at that time, the judge would say, you don't have any rights like the judge told me. You have to first establish paternity. Coming to the court, have a judge rule, which could take 6 months to a year. I said, well, will I get visitation then? The judge said, no. Paternity means you have a financial responsibility, but then you have to take another 6 months, depending on what apparently she has some allegations against you. Then after the trial, then we'll see what type of visitation you get. And I said, well, Your Honor, she moved to another county. I have no idea where she is. Can you give me an order of the court to serve her? Judge said, no, I can't give you an order to serve her. You're on your own. You have to hire a private investigator or an attorney to have her served. And the judge ended the Zoom call. How can this be happening to other, that they've had the child moved to Georgia or some other state, and the father can't find it. So I was really concerned at that point. So I closed my moment. This can't happen to me. I'm going to be dad. I'm going to write a proposal to the state legislature and did just that. I wrote a proposal to the state legislature. Representatives in South Florida picked it up after asking several members of the House of Representatives to pick it up. They said no. 8 months law change. House Bill 775. It was coined Ethan's Act, named after my son. I wrote a book, and the law said when a father steps up and he's not married, he has the same rights and responsibility as the other has. The right to extracurricular activities. She can just pick up out of state and move them anywhere she wants without the father's knowledge. Was what happened. 6 months after the law passed, I spread court before Miami-Dade County Court, judge here, and the judge ruled in my favor and gave me 50-50 with my son. Every Friday to Friday, one Friday on to the Friday, and then the mother has a Friday where I'm able to do things with my son that I couldn't before. Has improved in school. Within 2 months after that, I got a call and he's in the gifted program. He does the morning announcements. He's very well adjusted, and he's better now that he has more time with both parents rather than his mother. So we're very proud of that. I went on to write this book called Ethan's Good Dad, Father Turns Lemons into Lemonade, so that all good dads can taste it. And I've got not only my story, fathers around the country that have walked with me on this mission. As you said, Mr. Ludwig, that had 119 Tuesday meetings at 8 o'clock. We have this Tuesday in the past 2 years since the law passed.
Excellent. Good group. I love being on those meetings. Just you can tell they're hungry to make a difference. They're all team players. It's so refreshing to be a part of those. I've had a chance in Edwards in North Carolina last year. A good team you put together.
Yeah, thanks. We've got 16 team leaders, 17 around the country, the states. Is that we've taken this legislation, the bill that we wrote here, and find a dad in the state and coin their name on the same submittal, and we'll locate their representative in their state senator and send the proposal to pass the law in the state. We've been doing pretty good. Some states have, like for example, Alabama, Patrick Sellers, Representative Patrick Sellers, put it through in Alabama. It only made it to the House. We're hoping it goes to the Senate this year and passes. We've got some movement. We believe that some other legislation have taken place since then has been the Good Dad Act. They actually mention it that you see other states, and it's a movement, trying to give equal footing for children.
Excellent. Yeah, you got a guy. I spent time with him last year down there for opening week in Alabama this year. But yeah, anything I can do to help. My specialty is how to move legislation through, but definitely partner with you and passed in Alabama and some other states. So what's that doing these days?
He's doing great. He's in fifth grade in the gifted program. He does the morning announcement at his school. He's Frederica Wilson, Representative Frederica Wilson's 5,000 Role Models of Excellence, where he wears a red tie and a white shirt and black pants with 24 other children in school. And he's a leader, and he's very confident, and he's very smart, and I'm very proud of him. What we can do is encouraging fathers the support that we give to go to our website. It's called thegooddact.com. So we have a committee where we have these meetings every week, and we on this week we have an attorney by the name of John Elias, Florida attorney who is all over the state of Florida, and we give dads free legal advice. So the meeting lasts about an hour and a half. And come on and talk to these dads. A lot of dads are pro se. There's some mothers out there, some grandfathers, wives whose husbands have been estranged from their children. We have some sitting judges come to and talk to the dads. Some practitioners, some private investigators come on and know the things they can do. When you're in court, sometimes offense, so you have to understand what's going on, what the threat is, and we help train dads on how to act, how to compose themselves, how they should answer questions, so that when they go to court, they're prepared and not intimidated by the judiciary. They're able to, assert themselves to the good in Florida and get 50-50 custody with the children. And many of the we've started now with their children, which is really great. We were actually approached by representative out of Georgia about a week ago. The Speaker of the House sent them to me because they wanted to try to pass that act in Georgia. Georgia is probably the worst place for a single man to have a child. They have 3 pillars: legitimization, and then visitation, which is very expensive for a father in Georgia to overcome those hurdles and be able to spend time with his child. It's very terrible.
Yeah, we appreciate your work very, very much. Can you give, once again, contact information for people who want to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so feel free to go to the gooddadact.com website. If you want to get a copy of the book, Ethan's Good Dad Act, is available on Target, Walmart, Amazon. Just go there and like your regular things you order from Amazon, and just type in Ethan's Good Dad and see it pop up in the page. less than $20. You have all the information. We go a lot of the book about how to make a bill become a law. Talk about these stories of the fathers. This is more about resilience because I couldn't give it up. I got 50-50 custody of my son, right after this happened. But we've still been in the fight because there's dads out there that need help. They don't know what to do or don't have the resources to help themselves. And the children need their fathers. Children need both parents. Fathers contribute to children, contribute to children in a very healthy. There's something out there that probably are trying to spend time with their children, but those are the ones we want to talk to. We want to talk to the ones that really want to spend time with their kids. We realize the ones that want to spend time with their children is the ones that get the hard time. And they need help and support from individuals and entities to help them get through there and be able to spend time with the children and be able to care of the children and nurture them and make them the best citizens they possibly be.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Very, very much. I apologize for the glitches. We're trying to.
No worries.
But I appreciate you very much. Thanks for coming on. I'll be popping on here periodically on Tuesday nights. I sure appreciate you.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks. All right, guys. So apparently we're still having glitches. Brian, if you're to come on with me live here real quick. Okay. Because I don't want to keep going off and off. What we got. Okay. So you'll be able to disconnect from one so not two at one time. Okay. All right. I think I'm in the new one now. Okay, for those who are on Facebook, I'm going to use my phone to record on Facebook Live. I had some glitches with Facebook, so we switched to where we're really only doing streaming on YouTube and Twitch right now because those are getting better. Streamer is not connecting to Facebook, but Facebook, you're not getting the whole experience. But you're going to get the details of what we're going to be doing in DC in a little bit here. I think we're back live now. And like I said, we're already on YouTube and Twitch. Back up, Brian. I think we're all set up. Yeah. All right. All right, one because we've got a lot to go, guys, and this is where because a lot of people are saying, "Hey, what can I do? I'll be a part of it. What's going on in DC?" That the last hour, 15 minutes of today is really a lot of details of exactly what we've been doing in DC, the progress we've made, and importantly, how now you guys can start being a part of it. I've made 17 trips to DC over the last 5 years on my own, the groundwork with the White House, with HHS, with the House, with the Senate. But now we're to a point where I'm starting advocates with me. That's of you. So what I want to go through in very much detail is what we're looking for. What is the vetting process? What's the application process? How can you be a part of the team? What can you do? So we're going to be covering that in a second. I'm going to bring on just real quick, though, a buddy of mine, Bachelor, who has been just a great collaborator. Chris's attitude is, how can he serve the community? He's a part of NPO, which I Don, George, and Brian are currently working very hard on the package in DC. So we've got Don, George, and Brian. So this week they had either 2 or 3 meetings with just the 3 of them. And then Wednesday, they're going to give me an update of what they've come up with, a little input for me, and then we're going to sort of go from there. But NPO has been great to work with. And Chris is another one. Chris, I think, is going to be able to be a big part of something in Dallas in December. So we don't want to reveal too many details of this yet. We'll be, because right now, a lot of the focus will be on November. November is geared mainly to federal issues with Title 4D reform, a commission for boys and men, and the upcoming revision of the Violence Against Women's Act. This is going to be state issues, things like 50-50 equal share parenting, custodial interference, guardian ad litem reform, and be one of the main inner circle to help me put that together in Dallas. So I'll probably do a separate Facebook Live in the next, well, probably the week after November. Chris and I will come on. But Chris, thanks for doing it. Thanks for sharing the video. You made that video earlier, so appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. It's an honor to be here. Hope we can help everybody out.
Yeah, you've been great. Ryan's been another great leader to work with the unmarried father. Always willing to help out any way he can. But give us just a little background of second. What's your background? How you came to be involved, and what your role is with NPO?
Sure. So, I got involved in for divorce law change sort of after my divorce, and then also I wrote the Dad's Divorce Guide. So if you're interested in that,
Oh yeah, how do they get a hold of that? Is that on Amazon?
Go to my website, dadsdivorceguide.com, and check it out there. There's links to buy it on Amazon or you pick it up from me. And but yeah, this Dad's Divorce Guide. I wrote this really because when I was divorced, I really wasn't familiar with the process, didn't know a lot of the terms, and I really felt like I was just kind of alone and didn't really have any guidance. And so I wanted to write something for folks going through that process and let them in to give them some help to make them feel empowered. So that this is the book that I wish I had when I was going through divorce and just starting to co-parent right after divorce. It's got a lot of knowledge in there. It's got stuff about the legal system. It's got stuff about co-parenting. It's got stuff about moving and basically thriving after divorce. So a lot of stuff just depend for no matter what you're in all of this, but it's really good reference for those folks going through the process and who have gone through the process and are continuing to work in the system afterwards.
Yeah, very good. So hopefully we can get people to get a copy of that.
Yeah, order it up, and we're coming out with it here really soon. So
excellent. I did want you to share a few of your thoughts to give people ideas. We have so many people who want to be involved. They want to go to the Capitol.
Sure.
Make a difference. Unfortunately, so many people they never go to the Capitol, so they don't know what to expect. Some people watch movies and they think that I'm going to go there and chain myself to the columns with a poster.
Don't do that.
And I don't mean to make fun because I think people really they're trying to make a difference. They don't know what to do. So,
absolutely,
your thoughts of what you've seen over the past, things people have done wrong, and things that people improve on, and things you'd like to see when people go to the Capitol.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, first I'll start off that advocating at the Capitol can be a wholly intimidating experience. You're walking into this building and these, most of the state capitals are grand buildings. They've got very high ceilings. They've got intricate architecture, usually a lot of history and symbology, in these buildings. But the reality is, first, learn about how this works. What your legislature, what your legislative system is like and what it takes to pass a bill. And once you've kind of studied that a little bit, you can go advocate. And you can literally just turn on the state house and knock on doors and try and find folks in their offices, or you talk to their admins and find out when you can talk to them, that sort of thing. And really, the good basis of getting something, in a state, getting it seriously considered, really about all the behind the. And a lot of people don't understand. You don't just kind of show up to the state house and give some route speech at a hearing and they vote on them. Fundamentally not what happens. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that goes on. So when you're doing that, you just have to remember that changing the minds of people is fundamentally the hardest thing that you can do in human nature, right? Because people have their convictions. They think they know how things are. If you're going to try to change their viewpoint, that's a very difficult proposition. So I just want to, let you know that, because this process of advocating is a very difficult thing on its face, and it's not something that happens easily or overnight. I have a friend, Dennis, and he said the constant knock cracks the rock, and he's right that, conversation you have with the legislator and the light bulb comes on, and all of a sudden they're on your side and voting for your bill. It's the 50th or the 100th conversation that you have with legislators, and you just get them on your side and get them to see, the way that you see it. The other thing is, I'll say that there's usually a lot of competing issues at the state house, and so there is sort of a better time than others. Issues like this, state houses cannot find budgets and things like that. Much we would like them to be higher priority. So it's going to take priority, and we just have to understand that. So this is, I want to get everybody out there and understand that this is a multi-year, very long process. You just have to remember it's a marathon, not a race, not a sprint. So that would probably be my first bit of advice here, is just to know that this is going to be a long process, that there are going to be competing issues, and that you're going to have people that oppose your issues as well. And I guess we can talk about that if you want, but that can be incredibly difficult. People that are either spreading misinformation, or they're talking about your issue in a negative way. It can be incredibly difficult to change people's minds.
And unfortunately, we get a lot of that with
We
the
do.
bar association that
Right.
work very hard against us. And it's hard sometimes. I tell people one of the hardest things is to compartmentalize frustration, because there'll be
Absolutely.
times when, to be honest, a lot of them are so good at what they do, they're intentionally wanting to rile us up so that we feed into the narrative of, see, look, I told you,
Yep.
almost like a narcissist you to try to get a reaction, and now the attention goes to the reaction instead of what they did. That happens at the Capitol a lot. So yeah, if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, it certainly does. Just like a divorce hearing, or in the other side is going to try and get you to have a burst, because then they can point to your person, and you can absolutely not let that happen. You will be branded as the angry dad, or all the things you hear. The angry dad, they just don't want to pay child support. We don't want to more time with their kids than they're allowed. Like there are all these reasons that they come up with, which out of context, make sense, but you need to figure out that you're going to combat all these, uh, and do it in a way that comes from a loving place, where you're not seen as a combative one. Because as soon as you become combative with the legislator, you've lost. You're not going to get your thing passed. The other thing I would say is that legislature is a lot like a high school. There's going to be a quarterback, and there's going to be cheerleaders, and there's going to be sort of that hierarchical structure. There's going to be legislators that are more important for you to get on your side than others, and it's up to you to do that sort of political strategy. Okay, who do I need to get on my side? And sometimes you have to start sort of at the bottom of the hierarchy and kind of work your way up. And sometimes you can get a critical mass of people on your side, and then as soon as more people get on your side, then you'll get other people attaching themselves, because they don't as the ones left behind. But fundamentally, what you have to understand in a legislative environment is that politicians are elected, and that changes the dynamic of how you would deal with that versus a coworker or something like that, because a legislator always wants to get voted in the next time around. It's their last term, and they really don't care. But most times, legislators, do care about how their constituents are going to see, how they vote on a particular issue. So a lot of times you can reframe this in a way that, hey, this is happening in your jurisdiction, uh, where people are voting for you, right? Want to get positive results. So you need to spin the story and how it impacts them in reference to, basically getting them reelected. That you can't really say, well, if you want to be reelected, you need to vote for this. That's not going to work, right? But you need to be able to phrase it in a way that alludes to that without coming out and directly saying it. Does that kind of ring true with what you've seen, Mark?
Yeah, I think so, and I appreciate you saying that, because there's so many people, they watch movies and they want to call a legislator and say, I'm going to vote you out of office. Well, we don't have the votes to vote them out of office.
Right.
We show up at a Capitol for a hearing in those states, enough votes. So saying that not only doesn't help us, it very much hurts us, because if I'm a legislator, you just ticked me off at that point, and you've just no chance to have a relationship at all.
Yeah,
so I appreciate that.
And the other thing I'll say too is I've been in legislative offices, standing in front of the desk of the admin, and legislator comes in and asks, "Hey, what's the count on this issue?" Right? And what they're talking about is called the office and said, "Hey, I'm for this or I'm against this," right? And they don't get any more context than that. So it's really important, if you're for or against a particular bill in your state, call the legislators. There's going to be hundreds of phone numbers. Make sure you call the ones that are in your district and let them know, hey, I'm for this, I'm against this. Tell your friends, tell your family, get them to call in, because if a legislator gets 20 phone calls or 30 phone calls for a particular issue, and let's say it's a shared parenting issue, and they get 5 or no phone calls on the nays, then that's going to heavily influence how they vote, right? So if it gets to that, but really, trying to get past is really about developing relationships, about bringing common things. You need to try and bring solutions that aren't very polar, that that aren't left or right, or you need to bring things that are basically a win-win for both sides of an issue, and that's how you can get things passed. I know we've had a number of advocates that are very, very good at reframing an issue of how it wins for both parties. And when I say both parties, what I mean is, the parties could be a number of things. It could be the government, it could be parents, it could be kids. We've had a lot of success advocating on the behalf of children or on behalf of kids, not so much on behalf of parents, because there's not a lot of sympathy for people who get divorced. Unfortunately, that's just, the way our society works. But we can build sympathy around around children. And the other thing is, states lack laws that make less work or less cost for them. So if you can frame your bill in a way that saves the state money, or saves the state time, or it saves the state effort, that's going to also be seen as a pretty large lever in legislative eyes.
Excellent. Yeah, good information. And I love partnering with you too. And I think it's an important thing too for people. If we want to get involved, we're so much stronger if we work together as teams, instead of having to recreate the wheel where somebody doesn't know what, Chris may have already met with 3 people and know that they're hardcore opponents. We don't want them knowing that we're going to the Capitol. We want to kind of tell them, no contact with them. Don't think that we've gone away. So if you contact one of those 3 people, you've created problems for Chris. There may be other people that Chris is in the process of working with, that maybe their big problem is concerned about kids going back and forth between the houses, and Chris has a meeting scheduled to address that issue. But you don't know that, and you call the legislator, and you start talking about things, and you talk about kids going back and forth between houses. You just created precedent. I always tell people, if you want to be involved, we appreciate that. We applaud that, but learn how to be a part of a team. Don't try and be the king of your own team. Be a part of a team. Even myself, I've got 40 years background in legislation. I think I know what I'm doing. But when I Kansas, I don't just show up at the Capitol and recreate the wheel. Chris has done a little more groundwork. So I sent a quick message to Chris. Hey, I've met with Ty. I've met with this new guy, Philip, that's running for governor. Because I want Chris to know any ingredients that I'm working with that can help his strategy. I want him to know. And Chris sends me messages. Hey, just a reminder, this one is wolf in sheep clothing. She makes she's not, but that's how we collaborate, guys. So Chris and I are not in competition. We work together. If you're in a state, that's what we need you to do. Make sure that you're working with somebody. Every state I go in, I try to find a local leader and partner with them, not overshadow them. But a big part of that is the communication. You've got to let them know. Every once in a while, I'll work with a state and they need my help. Oh, please help. We need your connections. I have some doors. And then they're like, well, I can take it from here. And I'm like, well, some of your connections are my connections, and it's messing up things I'm doing. So if you're in the state of Kansas, guys, we do have some neat things planned next year for Kansas. And I think we've got a good shot at making some progress. So if you're interested in helping with Kansas, please reach out to Chris. Chris and I work together. We're not competition. Everything I say, I share with Chris and vice versa. But Chris, can you give your, if people want to get a hold of you, can you give them your information?
Sure. Just head to dadsdivorce.com and there's a way that you can contact them there. Also, I'm the chair of the National Parents Organization in Kansas, so we have a Facebook page. It's National Parents Organization Kansas. Check us out there, and so and also if you get a hold of me there, Mark, I'm sure would be happy to get you in touch with me. So, yeah, really jump out. And the other thing I want to leave with Mark is that going up and telling your personal story, while as powerful as you think that is, that often is not helpful because you're just one person. You need to frame how these laws are going to affect hundreds, thousands of people for them to be effective in the legislature's eyes. The other thing I add too is that in working together, organization is totally key. So if you put a database together or a spreadsheet, put all the legislators' names in there and whether or not they're going to be for this, you think, and if you've talked to them, if they said they're for or against it, kind of mark that down where everybody can collaborate, because if you can divide and conquer stuff, it makes it much, much easier. You're going to be much more effective than just trying to hit stuff up individually.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate having you on. Like I said, you're going to be a big part of my plan in Dallas. And I think, are you coming to DC with me in November?
I'm planning on coming to DC. I haven't finalized plans yet, but I've got it marked down. So I think I'm going to be there.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I can use you without a doubt. So thanks again for coming on. Thanks for always being just a great collaborator. I sure appreciate it.
Mark, everybody pick up the book so I can afford to go to DC.
Excellent.
See you later.
All right, guys. Hopefully the glitches are clearing up. I did want to go ahead and bring on now, before I get into all the details of what we're doing in December, in November. Let me know about teacher class and I have a legislative leadership development program. It's not to try and sell a class. It's because after 11 years of doing this, I've seen matter of fact, I see Linda Jones on here. Good to see you, Linda Jones. Linda's a big part of the Missouri team, and I mean a huge part. But so many people who mean well and they want something, they just don't know what to do. And there is so much behind the art and science of how to pass legislation. So I do a very in-depth training class a year. The first one is coming up in a couple of weeks on October 13th. It's 4 Monday nights and 3 Wednesday nights. An hour and a half each Monday night, and 3 Wednesday nights for an hour, where I delve into the details of what are the steps for a bill to become a law? What are the main people? What's a majority whip, and why do you need to know that? What's the caucus leader, and why do you need to know that? How do you open the door? How do you get past the gatekeeper? How do you start a conversation with the legislator? What are the 7 most common obstacles, and how do you overcome those obstacles? How do you have a Senate hearing? I mean, I go through step by step by step. So if you're wanting to be involved with me at the state level, I need to take the class because I don't have time to train people while we're walking the doors of the Capitol. If we're walking the halls of the Capitol, I need you trained before that happens. So early bird is $190. Half of them run all the logistics because I have no technical skills to set up a video training series and all that stuff that's a part of the class. The homework, the PowerPoints, Vanessa does all that for us. So half of it goes to them, and the half I get, I use to try and help offset some of the cost. But the class size is usually very limited. Last class into 12 people. I'm probably going to do the same thing. So it's going to fill up. But there is the early bird register, I think this week, a week or so to get the early bird registration for the 190. But just so you know, I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, every class that I took to learn this information, there was over 30 conferences I've been to, including the Joe Gaylord School, which was $1,500, not counting the airfare, not exaggeration. In Leadership Institute that I've spent hundreds and hundreds and thousands of dollars on learning that material to learn general information that I had to go apply to the parenting community. I take all those 30 conferences, 40 years of a background, and specifically tailor it. If you're interested, it's at stlmarkludwig.com, stlmarkludwig.com, and that's how you be a part of the class, which really focuses on training. So if you're interested in being a part of that, like I said, I'm limiting the class size again. It's probably going to be 12 for this October 13th class because I want quality over quantity. I want the relationships. I want to be able to study the homework assignments to make sure that we really develop a team that gels. So if you're interested in the class, like I said, make sure you're ready quick. It's stlmarkludwig.com. Click on training and October 13th class, and you'll get the early bird rate. The other thing that we have on the same site is legislative development program, and it's an ongoing training. No different than if you want to get in shape and join a gym, you don't go to the gym one time. You're constantly going to work out. You don't take a shower one time. If you're a runner, you don't run one time. You're running all the time. You're working out all the time. Self-development and self-improvement at the professional level is the same thing. Professional football players don't take off during the off season. They're working out. They've got a regiment that they're doing. They're studying playbooks. They're always doing something. We need to do the same thing. We're not Yahoo to show up at a council. I want the best of the best. I want people that are committed every single morning when they wake up to personal development and professional development. So if you're wanting to go to DC in November, that's a requirement. You've got to be a part of that because we're having a lot of town hall meetings, and tomorrow night where I delve into the details of putting the teams together. What's the exact verbiage that we're going to be saying? What are the one sheets? How do you go through these one sheeters with legislators? So if you're wanting to be a part of DC, you're going to have to be a part of the program. So that's on that same stlmarkludwig.com. Click on the thing that says memberships, legislative leadership development team. It's $30 a month. Uber Eats. You're going to get a full month's worth of training. Okay, so to talk more about that, I wanted to bring on a couple people who have actually taken the class. So I think hopefully they're in the backstage. I wanted to bring on Josh. Oh, I see Josh made it on. Oh, there's Vince. And then did Anthony make it in? I wonder if he got a new link. Brian, I just still have his email to resend him a new link. Anthony has been just a great leader for us. We're going to go and keep going. If he comes on, go ahead and just add it. For those of you that don't know, Josh Thomas is a huge part of the Father's Right movement. I can't tell you the hours and hours this guy has put in. Phenomenal volunteer, always willing to help, always willing to do anything he can. Vince is one of the inner circle guys. The last 6 months, and one of the guys I'm really going to be putting together for the inner circle leadership team. Vince is, I believe, Connecticut, right? But so I guess why don't we, Josh, give a little bit of class, what your thoughts were on the class.
Well, when I got into this a couple years ago and in the mark, and obviously realized the laws need to change to help us fathers, I had to, get into the class. Mark takes us from the very first day to the very day of the vote. And, sales pitch, he taught us, and there were the 3 Ps: pitch, pace, and
Pause. Pitch, pace, and
pause. It's very difficult right now.
Yeah.
But anyways, it was a great class for Jim like me. Only helped me out a lot.
Excellent. And then Vince, uh,
I mean, Mark, absolutely amazing. I mean, the class tells you everything you need to know, how to do it, how to. I mean, it's like a recipe. You go in, you're not crying out your story. We all have a similar one. It's like a recipe. You put a little bit of salt, which is a little bit of your the story, and then the main ingredients is what everything Mark teaches you in his class. I mean, it's set up in a process where it's just step by step, how to do it, what's the right way to do it, what's the wrong way to do it, what to avoid. The book is absolutely amazing. This is a absolute purchase that you need to take. I learned so much from this. I keep going back for it for references, remembering things because it's a lot. It's a lot, but the more you're on top of it, the more it just becomes ingrained, and it's like the back of your hand. I again speak high class. I think you should be charging more. I think the class is just phenomenal. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, you get so much information. I mean, I in class, I was just like, wow, didn't realize that. Oh, wow, I kind of thought that, but that makes a lot more sense. Well, I could have went in this way and had all these illustrators just turn away from me if I went and approached it this way instead of the way that I was thinking prior. This class just reteaches you everything. So
Excellent.
I say thank you. Absolutely. And
matter of fact, I
anybody
just
who's
saw
interested,
some comments in the comment thread
yeah,
about. But
'cause,
I
I
appreciate
mean,
that. It's funny because Nick and Vanessa say the same thing. Nick and Vanessa, by the way, they do this for a living. They, not in the security community, primarily real estate, nationwide. Don't do that because people won't value it. They're going to think, oh, this is worthless. It's not worth the time.
oh no,
So I fought with them a lot. They really do. They're like, Mark, stop giving these discounts.
it's like going to college. We're paying for it. It's an investment, and you're giving us the knowledge, and you're giving us the time. You're working for us. It's why I donate as much as I could at the time, to the point where it set me back on weekly payments, but it made me work harder to get those back up. But that was because I invested in what I believed in. What you showed us. You go to the Capitals. You go to DC. You're doing live streams. You're updating every time you get a chance to. Mark, you do above and beyond. To the point where you dig it down a little bit, you start getting sick, you start coughing. You're doing phenomenal, man. I know you get high in praise, but I'm gonna keep going because it's unbelievable, and I can't wait to work by your side one day and get DC, just try to move things around. But I mean, that's my hope because again, this is great. This is great to see. You're doing awesome.
I appreciate that. And like I say, both the two of you are definitely high on my list for an inner circle type group. I love your hunger and thirst for knowledge. We get so many people in the community, they think they know everything. And I think I've been in the legislative arena, the political arena for 40 years, and I don't know anything. I mean, if I have a chance to be around a Bob McEwen or an Ed Martin or a Tim Jones or a Mark, I'm like, what can I learn? Man, you guys have this knowledge, and I love the two of you got the same hunger and thirst for knowledge.
Yeah, knowledge is wealth. You get a lot from it. And I also want to put a little touchy something like, so I stayed back before I even got involved in this. I was hesitant. Just others who are viewing this, like, well, I don't know if I want to pay that and go to the class. I sat back, just like many others, to view, to observe what you're doing, and I took everything in. And we built that trust factor. Okay, he's really there for us. He's doing it not just for us. He's doing it for our kids and our kids' kids to come. And where you just literally lost everything, just as us have. And you took what it was on you just sharpened it and you focused it on the cause, and you just went boom, 100%, 110%. So again,
I concur.
Thank you.
Yeah, for me,
you are inspiration for sure.
For me, I'm in the sorry, Ben. I'm in the trade, and if I'm venturing into a new trade, I go find a journeyman, someone who's way above my knowledge skill set. Mark is for this legislative stuff.
Yeah, I'm in the trade skill as well. You
Yeah.
want to learn something, you go to that person who's expert at it, and you learn it. And it's just like how you said, you apply that with Mark for sure.
Excellent. Any closing thoughts, John?
Closing thoughts. Need unity to build change for our kids in the future. They need us. They need these laws changed so we don't have to. They don't have to experience what we have. Mark's a great leader. He's keeping us. Help him. I'm always trying to volunteer, and we could be the next big push to help Mark go through. And Mark's not a conceited person. He's not looking for any of the credit. He wants to develop his team, and I support the cause.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate both of you. Like I said, you guys are going to definitely be a big part of the inner circle I'm putting together. Was very inspired by Charlie Kirk, what he put together. Other people like his political views or not. You have to respect a kid that from 18 years old till age 31 built an organization of tens of thousands of followers, around hundreds of thousands of followers around the country, over 1,000 employees, and a $140 million a year operation. He did something big. But what he did is he was very good at creating a team. What I'm really focused on now is I'm going to start delegating. I've got strengths of knowledge, but some of my weaknesses are delegating, and I'm very bad at time management at times. I see Linda Jones on here. She will probably verify some of this thing, but follow-up is a bad thing. So what I'm looking to do now is put together a team that we can be sort of like the Charlie Kirk team. I can just develop a certain person to say, hey, I need this task done. On what I do best, and not micromanage things that really are kind of a waste of my time. So the two of you are going to be a big part of things we're going to be doing over the next 90 days. I appreciate both of you very much.
We appreciate you, Mark, and
Mark.
I got you by the time you need me, sir.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and I guess was Anthony ever able to make it back on? If so, add him in. If not, we're going to continue on with sort of details. Oh, yeah. If you guys feel free to tap him in. Anthony's another one. Anthony Perez. This guy is always calling me. He's like, Mark, I read Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. What's the next book? And I told him, hey, I need you to read Michael Gerber's E-Myth because it really talks about branding, messaging, and what we're about to do. And he's sending me messages every day. Man, I read chapter 2. Oh, this is exciting and stuff. That's what we need, that hunger and thirst for knowledge where, most people, if they don't take a shower in the morning, they kind of feel weird. You don't put clothes on. You walk out of the street, you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot something. I forgot my clothes. I hope when you wake up in the morning, you feel like, oh, I didn't do my reading. I didn't do my professional development. Because it's like a muscle. Your muscles don't stay stagnant. They're either growing or they're dying. So you need to be exercising on a regular basis. You need to be feeding your body the proper nutrition because your body is either growing or dying. Your mind is doing the same thing. From a personal standpoint and a professional standpoint, if you're not continually growing, you are dying. And you can see it on Facebook. You see the people that I see that are into the drama and infighting, and they're talking about people. Guys, if you're talking about people, you're not making this happen. We need people talking about solutions, talking about ideas, talking about possibilities, talking about, what are we going to do, and talking about progress. That's what we're looking for. And that only happens if you're feeding your mind continually on a regular basis. So if you haven't yet, the big books I encourage you to read. Number 1 is Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. That is an absolute must. That's a prerequisite for anybody on the team. Second one is Michael Gerber's E-Myth. Same thing. It talks about systematizing, branding, messaging. That will teach you so much. You'll think the book is about business, but if you understand, it's about what we're about to do. And then for myself, today Proverbs 1 through 5. Even if you don't go to church or anything like that, guys, if you read Proverbs, it really is a book that'll make you think about different principles. So I read the first 5 chapters of that after church today. So I encourage you to be an avid reader. I hope every morning when you wake up, you have a goal to learn one thing that can make you better as a person from a personal development standpoint and one thing from a professional development standpoint. What more can you learn about the shared parenting community? What new statistics, what new research, what new techniques can you learn about how to meet with legislators? That's what we're looking for as far as a team that we're putting together. Now, I did want to answer several questions I've gotten from people before I really get into the meat of November and what we're going to be doing in DC. So if you have questions, feel free to type them in, but I did want to federal legislation and state legislation because they are very different. The U.S. Congress will not touch topics that have to do with state legislation. So if you ever go to D.C., don't mention shared parenting, custodial interference, guardian ad litem reform. That has 100% nothing to do with federal legislation. They will not do it. They will not touch it. And more importantly, you will lose credibility in their eyes because you look like you don't know what you're talking about. And their attitude is, if you don't understand that principle, you probably don't understand other principles, so you're wasting their time in their office. At the state level, that's where you're going to deal with things like shared parenting, like guardian ad litem reform, like custodial interference, maternity fraud. So those are state level issues. You don't talk about reform at the state level. Okay, they can't do anything about the state. Matter of fact, they like that free money. So you're losing the votes for us if you talk about it. Every once I'll be like, I'm meeting with my state senator tomorrow. I need to know more about Title 40. Don't mention it to your state senator. Okay, you're going to turn them off because they want to keep that free money, that spigot flowing from DC. So I want to touch on that. I also want to touch on parental rights. I can't tell you how many people tell me, oh, I heard that Mary Bill has a parental rights bill going in Washington, D.C. Oh, that's good for us. Guys, parental rights has nothing to do with the shared parenting community. Okay, nothing at all. Parental rights has to do with the government versus a parent, not one parent versus the other parent. The court doesn't even remotely enter the arena for the groups that are working on parental rights bills. Parental rights bills have to do with what is taught to your child in a school, where they can teach, gender issues and stuff like that in a school. It has to do with things like vaccines. Those type of issues are parental rights. Parental rights has 100% nothing to do, for God's sakes, please stop sharing posts saying, oh, it's a parental rights bill. Hallelujah. Guys, that has nothing to do with us. Nothing. Okay. Now, that's not putting Mary down. Mary is a big part. She's a good friend of mine. She is the sponsor, by the way, of the parental rights bill in DC, but that has nothing to do with us. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is constitutional amendments, which ironically, that's one thing Mary's trying to do, is pass a parental rights constitutional amendment. Just to let you know, she knows that's not going to pass. Okay? She's not really trying to. She's trying to move the needle on statutes that she could pass by getting momentum behind her. I think some of you know, there was some Yahoo a couple of years ago. I forget what his name was, Kevin or something, that you can have $1 million show up in Washington, D.C., a constitutional amendment. And ironically, he talked about parental rights. And I'm like, oh, dear God in heaven. Okay, first off, constitutional amendments. If you haven't studied politics, which is obvious, where you're going to try and get a national constitutional amendment. Guys, to get a constitutional amendment, you have to have a majority of the House, a supermajority of the House and the Senate at the federal level. That ain't going to happen with the current makeup of our House and Senate. So that's just step one, by the way. So it's not going to happen at the federal level. After that passes, you have to get 37 states to ratify it. Guys, not only is that not going to happen, you're an idiot if you think I would be more. Just seriously. To give you an idea, the last constitutional amendment that passed in 1992. So 1992, that was whatever that was. I can't think when I'm on camera for some reason. 33 years ago. 33 years ago, another single constitutional amendment passed. Do you know when that amendment started being worked on? Now, it passed in 1992. And so I think, oh, was it maybe 1990 they started working on it? 1985, 1980? 1787, when that bill was 205 years before the Constitution sat out at his desk and drafted 10 amendments that he wanted to the U.S. Constitution. 12 of those became the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to our U.S. Constitution. The 11th Amendment died. The 12th Amendment took 205 years to get the supermajority in the House and the Senate and pass 75% of the states. 205 years. We're not going to get a constitutional amendment on anything to do with family court. Okay, so please stop saying that. It just really looks silly. Now, one thing I have gotten a lot of people talking about is supposedly there's a group meeting at the Capitol for a congressional hearing in October. And people have been wanting my thoughts on that. First off, I'm not going to comment on the people. My attitude is always, I don't want to get into the third grade drama of, I don't like this person and I don't like this person. Guys, that's third grade. You look silly doing that. Let's compartmentalize. Take the person out of the picture. In my mind, you lose all credibility with me when you start attacking a person. You really do. Like I said, in my mind, that looks very childish. Let's look at the issue. So take the person out of the picture and let's look at what's going on. So that's in no way disrespecting the person. Every person has something that you should find hopefully something good about, as well as something bad about. And if you can't find something good about everybody, you need to look in the mirror, because you're either a narcissist or you've got a blatant blind spot. Every single person, even my worst enemy, I can find something good about them. So if anybody ever tells you they can't find good about somebody, eliminate them from your inner circle. They're gone. In my mind, they have no influence in life once they do something like that. So I'll just tell you, this person who's doing this, she has some good qualities. The fact that she's passionate about what she's doing, she's trying, she has tried to put some good things into her bill that she's working on. I don't agree with everything that she's doing, but I'm not going to attack her as a person. So let's take her out of the picture and let's look at what's going on. The word is going out that there's a congressional hearing in Washington, D.C. on October 20th or something like that. Now, I think it's more of a marketing move, almost like a fake it till you make it, if you will, that if we can create enough buzz, we're going to get some legislators to look at this. Unfortunately, I'll just tell you, with 40 years in the legislative arena, if I'm a legislator and someone tells me they're having a congressional hearing, that's kind of a sacred term to legislators. So if all you did was rent a room in Washington, D.C., that's not a congressional hearing. To have a congressional hearing, you have to have a bill sponsor, you have to have a bill filed in which you would have a bill number, and then the bill would have to be read on the floor and then signed to the committee, and then the chair of the committee sets a specific date and time for a hearing, and you don't organize that. The chair of the committee organizes that. You might be allowed to sit in on it. You might even get a chance to testify, but that has nothing to do with you. So if you don't have a bill sponsor, you're going to lose credibility when you say that there's a hearing going on. Because I promise you this, if you have a bill sponsor, they're going to want their name out there in public. They don't want you hiding their name. They want to show people that they're working for their constituents. So when somebody tells you, I've got a bill sponsor, I'm not going to tell you who it is. I'll just tell you flat out, I'm calling a bluff. Okay? A bill sponsor will want to know what it is. If you have a bill number, you're going to tell them what the bill number is. Okay? There are people saying, well, I'm copywriting it because I want somebody to sabotage it. Well, guys, I hate to tell you this, but it's a federal bill. Okay? You're going to have input. Somebody can add amendments or not. You can't copyright a federal bill. And then if it gets assigned to a hearing, the chair is going to have a hearing. So what this group did, it's a smart marketing ploy, but any one of us can call in Washington, D.C., in the U.S. Capitol Visitors, where normally to get a Capitol tour, you go to your member of Congress and you schedule a time and they get you this little ticket for you to go. So the member of Congress isn't walking you around the Capitol, but you have to go to your member of Congress to get the little ticket to qualify for the private Capitol tour. That's sort of what happens. You call your member of Congress office and you say, I have leaders coming from the country. We're going to be talking about family court reform or an accountability act or whatever. Can you do me a favor and rent this room for me at the Capitol Visitor Center? There's also buildings in the House and Senate buildings. So on the Senate side, we've got the we've got the Russell, the Dirksen, and the Hart building. On the House side, we've got the Cannon, the Longworth, and the Rayborn building. In each of those buildings, they have the official hearing rooms, but they also have meeting rooms. Some of you have seen, I've done Facebook Lives in the Kennedy room of the Russell building and in the Dirksen building. I forget which room it is. But because I'm pretty well known in there, a lot of times I can just walk in those rooms, and if nobody's using them, I can use them. But normally it's best to schedule them. So same thing, you would call your member of the Senate on the Senate side or your member of the House and say, hey, I've got some leaders coming in. Can I, rent this room? And so they put down for you to rent the room. That's not a congressional hearing, guys. That's a private group having a meeting. It's basically like a press conference, if you will. But please don't call it a congressional hearing. You're going to lose credibility. And not only that, but you're going to affect my credibility because I am meeting with members of Congress. I am meeting with members of the House. And you can try calling my bluff if you want, but I've got the credibility. I've got the proof. Some of you have seen, I've done Facebook Lives 2 weeks ago on the White House property right outside the West Wing. It's me and the door to the West Wing right there. And, you've seen me in the hallway with Tulsi Gabbard at the White House. You've seen me with Alex Meyer, the Director of Intergovernmental Affairs. I am having meetings at the White House. You saw that I had 31 meetings with different members of Congress 2 weeks ago. So I put the pictures out, not to brag and say, haha, look at me, so that if you get some yin-yang out there that says, oh, you say you're meeting, but how do we know? Guys, you don't get all those pictures unless you're having some meetings. So we are having some meetings. Unfortunately, when somebody claims they're having a congressional hearing on a bill where there's no bill sponsor, there's no bill filed, there is no congressional hearing, it ruins my credibility because legislators start lumping me in with people saying, hey, that group, if they were deceptive about this, what else are they deceptive about? So, like I said, I'm not putting the person down or anybody involved with that group. I mean that very sincerely. I'm just saying it helps, guys, if we maintain our credibility. Just call it what it is. Hey, we're having a press conference. We're having a meeting to discuss, but please don't call it a congressional hearing. Now, the other thing about that is the bill is called something about Judicial Accountability Fairness Act or something like that. Just so you're aware, in the shared parenting community, in the verbiage in there basically delineates any reference to parental alienation. They basically say that parental alienation is junk science. It's not to be included in family courts and everything like that. And they're entitled to their opinion. So once again, and we have to have that current mentality. Let's not get mad at each other. Let's not call each other names. Let's not argue and yell. Let's take a step back and analyze. I'm not saying I'm right and they're wrong. I'm just telling you from my perspective, I have seen techniques of parental alienation. I have seen things happen that I do believe are parental alienation. So when it introduces a bill that basically says there is no such thing as parental alienation, it doesn't happen, that delineates a lot of, traditionally, it happens to the fathers. It can happen to either or. But they also insert language called coercive control. Coercive control is basically code for angry dads who should be eliminated from their fathers' lives. So I'm not in support of this bill for that reason. That's not saying the entire bill is junk. That's not saying those people are bad people. That's just saying my personal stance. And you can disagree with it too. I'm not offended if you disagree. Don't call me names or something like that. I'm fine though if you say, hey, Mark's entitled to his opinion, but I disagree. And that's sort of what I'm saying. I will not comment. I won't call them bad people, anything like that. I won't say it's a bad bill, but I will say I disagree with that aspect of the bill, and I disagree with calling it a congressional hearing when it's basically either a meeting or a press conference. It's not an actual congressional hearing. Okay, so that's enough of that. Now what I want to get on to is the exciting part. Hopefully this is why everybody tuned in. We have been working at the state level in states all around the country for the last, I don't know how many years, long before I came around. And a couple of big challenges we have is what happens at the federal level tends to overflow at the state level. So, if you're in the kitchen and there's water pouring all over your floor and going into the living room and you see the sink turned on, Are you going to get towels and buckets? Or are you going to turn the water off at the sink first? I mean, you can get as many buckets as you want. You can get as many towels as you want. But if you don't turn the spigot off and turn the faucet off, you're going to keep having problems. So we can keep focusing at the state level. And we still need to, by the way. At some point, you do need to dry up the water. But why don't we turn the faucet off first? Well, the faucet is in Title 4D at the federal level. So we've been working very, very hard to try and affect Title 4D at the federal level. Now, to do that at the federal level, there's 5 areas that we need to have influence, because each one is going to play a role. So you can't just go to the Senate and think, I'm going to work on something at the Senate. That's one puzzle of 5 that you need to have in this mixture. I've worked my tail off for the last 11 years to work on all 5 of those. And for some reason, God has blessed the efforts enough that we have concrete, tangible, credible ends with all 5 of the key pieces of the puzzle that we need to have to make this happen. Now, please don't think I'm giving credit to me. It really isn't about me. Okay, not to be over spiritualistic, but I do believe it was God's divine intervention somehow that literally put me in. It's almost like some of you heard the woodpecker that was pecking on a pole, and lightning comes, strikes the pole, splits it in half, and the woodpecker goes, wow, look at what I did. Guys, I'll tell you what, I'm the woodpecker, okay? I didn't do anything. Lightning struck, all these things came together. I'm getting a lot of credit. All I did was I was diligent, and I did what I thought needed to happen, and for some reason, in all 5 arenas, doors have opened up. But all 5 doors have opened up right now. So let me give you an idea of where those doors are. Number 1, President Trump has personally appointed someone that's working on Title 40 issues at the federal level. That's one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle, but Title 40 is a program by HHS. I'm getting cranked up and fired up here. I'm going to take my jacket off here. Oh, it's just a jacket that's coming off. Now, I am wearing I am wearing blue jeans, by the way. I'm going to take my jacket off here, if you don't mind, get a little more casual, fired up here. But we've been very fortunate. So this is the guy. When I had a meeting at the White House with one of Vince Haley's staff, and I'll talk about that in a second, he made the comment. He's like, Mark, there's one guy at HHS that you better get him on your side, because he's the guy that literally President Trump is going to ask for advice on anything to do with Title 4D. And when he gave me his name, I rolled out of my chair. I'm like, you've got to be kidding. I met this guy 15 years ago when he was a brand new intern for Representative Roy Blunt. You can't see it, but I have a picture in my kitchen of Roy Blunt with Levi. Roy is a very good friend of mine. His son was governor of Missouri, and I served on the Small Business Policy Council during the Blunt administration in Missouri. But this guy got his start. So we started building a friendship, a relationship. Guys, the hardest part is to build a relationship so you have credibility. Most people in DC, they don't even want to hear your issue. The first thing they're wondering is, well, wackadoo. Are you legitimate? Somebody who knows the issues, understands the culture, the process, or are you somebody who has no clue what the process is, and you're going to tell people you have a congressional hearing and a bill sponsor with no bill sponsor, no name, and no congressional hearing? So the hardest thing is to get that credibility. When you've got a relationship with this guy where I've known him 15 years, we've got the in there. So boom, 1 of the 5, check mark there. Second check mark we need is the White House. Very hard to get into. The last administration would not take a meeting with a single person from the shared parenting community. I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat, we just weren't getting in. Their passion was the Violence Against Women's Act, thinking that all men are abusers, and they were not taking a meeting. This administration, we've been very blessed. I have 13 acquaintances of mine that work in the administration. Some of you know 2 of those are very high up. I see Linda Jones here. Linda's met a couple of them. But Will Scharf is a very good friend of mine. He might be tuning in. He does periodically watch, but Will is the legislative director for the president. And so he literally is with the president probably 10, 12 hours a day, every single day. If you see, anytime they have those big black binders where they do an executive order, and the guy with the ball in here says, Mr. President, this is the executive order releasing the files of the JFK assassination. That's Will. And Will knows our issue. Linda Jones, I believe, met with him. I'm sure she did. He used to be the legislative director for one of our governors here in Missouri 8 years ago. And we had a lot of in-depth talks with Will about our issue. It helps to have the guy who has more access than anybody to the president than we do, aside from Melania, that understands our issue. Some of you know Ed Martin with the Department of Justice. Ed's about as high as it gets. He reports directly to Pam Bondi at the Department of Justice. So we've got a few others like that, total of 13 people. So we've got an in. We have a way to go. Don't think that we're just going to happen something overnight. Because right now, the White House is addressing anywhere from 80,000 to 120,000 issues every single month. It's not exaggeration. Everybody and their brother is bombarding them because they realize whether you love Trump or you hate Trump, he's the first administration in our time that's willing to say, hey, let's take a look at redoing this. And both Republicans and Democrats for the last 40 years didn't do that. They like the bureaucracy. Trump is willing to shake things up. So, hey, if there was a time to shake things up, this is it. And so 80,000 people every month are bombarding the White House trying to get their issue in front. So it's going to take a while, but we are making progress. Some of you saw, I already had 2 meetings at the White House. Things are going very well. I'll be going back again. So there's 2. We got HHS, we got the White House. Then we need the Senate. Senate has a very different culture than the House has. Very large offices at the Senate side. We are very fortunate. We've got a lot of good ends. 2 of my personal friends that I've known since before they got in the Senate are in there with Josh Hawley and Eric Schmidt from Missouri. Their staff, especially Eric Schmidt's staff, is wonderful to work with. They're reaching out to me on a regular basis, giving me updates. As a matter of fact, there was a new person hired at the White House about a month and a half ago, and Kelly sent me a text message. Hey, just to let you know, Senator Schmidt mentioned at our meeting that there's a new person at the White House that would be good contact for you. So he wanted me to reach out to you and give you the contact info. So we've got some good ins on the Senate side. The House side, we're going to have some serious meetings coming up in November. I'm going to talk about in a second. So we got HHS, we got the White House, we got the House, we got the Senate. The last ingredient is other major influential groups. Because unfortunately, whether we like it or not, the shared parenting community as a whole is not even on the radar screen of 99% of everybody in Washington, D.C. If they had to list the top 100 issues to look at, education, highways, budget, tariffs, all those things would be on there. Family court reform would not make the list of the top 100. It is for us, but the perception in D.C. is that it's not. Well, we don't have enough people that are trained and have the connections with all those 4 avenues that I told you about to make a difference. But what if we could tie our wagon onto some other larger groups? What if we can get some other groups that already have those connections, that have the influence? You've got Americans for Prosperity. Their budget is $74 million a year. That's why I always laugh when people try to put me down and say, Mark's a grifter. He's trying to raise money all the time. Why? Because I spent a few $1,000s last year going on 12 different trips. And I'm competing against organizations that have a $74 million budget to be able to make a difference. Guys, we're being laughed at. Okay. So what we need to do is, can we tie our mission to Family Research Council or National Association of Christian Lawmakers or Eagle Forum or Eagle Council or CPAC or Americans for Tax Reform? So that's what I've been working very hard on, is to tie our issue to theirs. Now, the key is to make sure that we work with them. We don't overshadow them. Okay, so let me give you an idea. National Association of Christian Lawmakers, which is a big passion of mine, a great organization run by a friend of mine, Senator Jason Raybert from Arkansas. Great guy. He has a mission that he wants to work on. And so he's got his primary issues that he's working on. Now, as I'm partnering with him, it's important that I partner and collaborate, not overshadow. So when I go to his events, I don't want to overshadow the events. I want to highlight his event. So when I go, I'm always asking, hey, what can I do to help? How can I help? How can I help? Because that giver's gain mentality, if he sees that I'm a team player, it'll come back, and it has, just so you know. He's always reaching out. Tony might even still be on. She was watching this a little while ago. Tony Rose, love her to pieces. But a great group to work with. But the key is, they're the priority. If we go to an NACL conference, their mission is the priority. If we build relationships in the hallways here and there, that's fine. but I don't want to try and be passing out flyers in the middle of their meeting and a distraction from their mission. But if we do it right, which we have, I'll tell you what, Jason has opened some doors for me. Jason's opened a lot of doors for me. So that's the fifth ingredient. And we have made strides with a lot of the organizations that I mentioned. So for the first time in my lifetime, we've gotten in with all five that we need: the influencers, the U.S. Senate, the U.S. House, the White House, and HHS. It's taken me 17 trips to D.C., trips all over to Boston and Laguna Beach and Naples, Florida, and all over the country. That's why I've always been asking for money. That's why when you get some Yahoo out there that says, oh, he's a grifter, he's not doing anything. Well, while the person who's saying that is going to a bar, getting drunk, I'm out there working my tail off, giving up a potential career that I could have in banking, giving up potential time with my son, giving up other things that I could be doing to try and make a difference. I don't say it to make light of myself. I'm just telling you, there's a lot of work to getting to the point where we are. But the exciting thing is now is a major turning point, because now is the time when I can bring people back. The hardest part is to do all the pre-research. So almost like, George Washington had, I think there were 6 of his spies that he had, that we would not have won the Revolutionary War if it wasn't for those secret 6 that basically got a lay of the land, figured out what was the opposition doing, what's going on here. And they got all the research and brought it back to Washington. And then he was able to make decisions with Captain von Steuben to try and make a change. I spent 17 trips doing the background information. Background information is there, foundation is laid. From this point on, every time I go to DC, I want to bring people with me starting in 4.5 weeks. So some of you are going to get a chance to come to DC with me. Now, let you know first the vetting process I have. Not that I'm better than anyone else, not that some people are bad people, but I'm telling you, we got one shot, guys. If we don't do this right in the next 3 years, I promise you it's going to take another 40 years, and our kids and grandkids are still going to be having to go through the junk that we're going through. We got one shot, and we got to do it right, because if you mess it up, you can't just recoup. At the state level, I have states where people, went and did these ridiculous protests outside the Capitol. Michigan is still paying the price. I don't know if John Nichols is still on here, but John will tell you there are legislators in Michigan that still will not talk to John, not because of what John did, but what people did 12 years ago in the state of Michigan. It's taking that long to turn things around. At the federal level, it's even worse. If we get some yahoos that mess it up for us, it is not going to change in our lifetime. The doors are open. The window of opportunity is there. We need to seize the moment. We need to seize it in the right way. So let me tell you a little bit about what I'm looking for as far as people to go with us. If you volunteer, number one, I need people to understand to be a part of the team. I don't know why, but for the last 11 years, I get so many people that say, oh, yeah, I want to help. And within 3 weeks, they want to be the CEO of everything. They want to control this and this and this and this. And it's, oh, dear Lord in heaven. There's no background in legislation. There's no background in team building, in messaging, in branding, but they want to be in charge of everything. Guys, you can't have 800 chiefs running, okay? It's just not going to happen. And unfortunately, I was so phlegmatic, I let everybody and their brother come in that created a ton of chaos. We got one chance. I don't mean to be rude, but I'm not doing that anymore. I'm finally going to grow a spine and tell people, hey, stop it or you're off the team, okay? So early on, I need people working on a task. So if I give you a task to do, like, hey, can you help me plan the reception that we're doing on November 4th? What I need you to help with is planning the reception on November 4th. Don't call the White House and schedule a meeting. Don't call HHS and have a meeting there. Don't design full color brochures that we're going to mail out to every legislator in Washington. Help me with the reception on November 4th. Okay, that's what we need you to do. So I need you, if you're going to volunteer, I need you to stick with the task early on. As we see your competency grow in that, then we're going to start expanding the role. But early on, I want to see, are you a team player? How do you do in that role? Next thing, I need a positive attitude. Are you a critic or are you a builder? Are you a complainer? Or are you an encourager? Every one of you have people that when you see their phone number, oh my gosh, they're going to complain about something. There's about 4 people in the shared parenting community that I'm not exaggerating. Every time I see their phone on there, And the funny thing is, I think they realize it. So I can literally say this, and they might be watching right now. By the way, Linda, it's not you, and Chris, it's not you, because it just says Chris Cole's watching and Linda's watching. It's not you guys. But literally, they could be watching and be totally clueless. But not me. But everybody else has a problem, not me. Let me tell you about everybody else's problem. Okay, that's the type of person. And I get these people. It's definitely not you, Josh. By the way, you have a great attitude. But if you're the type of person that when your number shows up on somebody's phones, they're like, "Oh God, what are they going to complain about now?" That's not what I look. I'm looking for people that every time they call, and I think of that, like a Josh, like a Chris, like a Linda, like a Vince, like an Anthony. They're always, "Hey, what can I do? Man, I'm excited about this. I'm excited about this." When I see their name on a private message or a text or something like that, I get excited because, man, this is going to be great. It's going to be a great conversation. You've got to be adaptable and flexible. Today was a prime example. There were some glitches that went on. I can promise you, one of the many naysayers were sitting there, "Oh, wow, there was a glitch in communication. Oh, the thing was lagging." Instead of focusing on how exciting that we're making progress, that we have something going on in DC, that, hey, this is going on, this going on, they're worried about the glitches in the communication or the fact that we had to log on and log back off. That's not the type of person we want in DC. You're going to have to be flexible. I'll tell you, there's times when you get all geared up and riled up for a Senate hearing and you drive or fly to the city and you find out, "Oops, sorry, no hearing today. Come back next week." That happens a lot. Okay. In DC, that happens all the time. So it's not going to happen in November 4th. But what happens in November 4th if the morning of the event, I find out that our venue got canceled? I'll be a little bit nervous, but I'm not going to let it ruin my day. My immediate mode is solution oriented. Great. Let's find another venue. Last minute, Washington, D.C. There's hundreds of other venues. We'll find something. We're going to make it happen. I'm looking for people that are solution oriented. I think I had about 4 people, no exaggeration, in the last week when I told them that we were going to be doing something on November 4th. They're like, "Well, that's not enough time to plan." I'm like, "What? What planet are you from?" Charlie Kirk died on September 10th. They didn't even start planning his funeral for a few days. In a period of 6.5 days, 6.5 days, they didn't have months to plan. They didn't have a year to plan. They didn't have weeks to plan. They didn't know he was going to die. In 6.5 days, they planned all the logistics for 74,000 people, 60,000 something in the main arena, 11,000 something in the overflow arena. They had to figure out the logistics of the parking, the Secret Service line, the barricades, the police, the porta potties, the concession stands. I mean, all these logistics had to take place. And they figure out the planes because there were so many people coming in. There wasn't enough room at the primary airport. So they had to figure out a backup and a secondary airport for all the planes coming in, wanting to go to the funeral. They had to figure out logistics of getting the speakers from the airport and how to get them in. Guys, they planned that in 6.5 days. Okay. If you don't think we can plan something that'll knock your socks off by November 4th, there's something I'll just tell you. Most major fundraising drives in DC, you get about 2 to 3 weeks to plan from the time they say we're doing something on this day. And a lot of those will raise $100,000, $200,000 a night, just like that, with 3 weeks planning. So I need you being adaptable, need you being flexible. Next thing, I need you to be a part of the Legislative Leadership Development Program. I'm not trying to sell the program. I'm trying to get the knowledge in you. If somebody doesn't have the attitude that says, "I've got a hunger and thirst for knowledge and I want to make a difference," and they don't think it's worth the price of one Uber Eats delivery, that's not the type of person that we want being the A team to make a change that's going to last for generations and affect millions of kids across the country. That's not the attitude we have. Okay. I want some people to have some skin in the game. Trust me, I've invested a lot more than $30 a month. Okay. I've invested my life into this thing. Okay. So go to stl.com or stlmarkludwig.com. And there's the class on there. There's the general email. What you're looking for is membership, Legislative Leadership Development Program. No exceptions. I need you to be a part of that if you're going to DC. Okay. So I get people that are like, "Well, I've actually had people tell me, they're like, "Well, I know everything. I don't need to be a part of that program." That's the attitude that tells me I don't want you with us in DC. I don't mean to sound like I'm talking down, but I've been phlegmatic too long. It's time to grow a spine and say no. If you're wanting on the team, you're a part of the program. You don't go to the football coach and say, you know what, I'm not going to practice on Tuesday, but I'm so good, I'm going to play in the game. No, you know what? You're off the team or you're sitting on the bench on Saturday. If you're not committed enough to go to practice on Tuesday night, you're not playing in the game. My dad taught me that as a kid. And my dad was manager, okay? I missed a practice one time, and my own dad benched me. I sat on the bench the entire game because he said, hey, I'm the manager. What kind of example am I making if I say that, you know, my son, and I had a legitimate reason for missing. It was a Boy Scout camp that week, and it was the week-long camp at SBRF Scout Ranch. And I missed practice on Tuesday. There was a game Saturday night. And I had to sit on the bench. I was like, but Dad, I was at Boy Scout camp. He was like, great. You're still sitting on the bench. Okay, so let me just tell you flat out. If you think you know everything and you have nothing to learn and you're too good and your poopy doesn't stink, stay home in November, okay? If you want to come to November, go to stlmarkludwig.com, click the button that says memberships for Legislative Leadership Development Program. Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, we have a town hall meeting going on where I'm going to go through a lot of the details of the exact verbiage that we're going to use and some of the logistics, the hotel we're staying at, how you're going to get around in D.C. We're going to have a lot of these meetings between now and November, the details. So you've got to be a part of that. Okay, got that. We already talked about the commitment to growth. Social media, no exceptions. If you're the type that loves drama and you're putting an individual down, we don't want you in D.C. If a legislator looks at your page, you look like you're in third grade on the playground if you're putting an individual down. Focus on ideas, concepts, and solutions, not people. When I see a person putting another person down, I don't think bad of the person they're putting down. I think, isn't it a shame that person has such a low self-image that they allow their day to be derailed by someone else who isn't paying their bills, who isn't parenting their child? They're that distracted. Guys, control what you can control. We all have a circle of concern and we have a circle of influence. And if your circle of influence doesn't include that person, why are you giving them the time of day on your Facebook page? I'll tell you what, my Facebook page, I want talking about my son and how much I love my son. I want talking about ideas and solutions for the family court system. So I will be looking at everybody before they go to DC to find out if there's any drama. No, we don't want that. There's zero tolerance for personal attacks of anybody in the shared parenting community. Once again, every one of us has strengths. Every one of us have weaknesses. If you think you're better than anybody else, good luck Judgment Day. Okay? Is it evident that you love your kids? We get some people that I think they want a statue for themselves. They claim to be a parent, but nowhere on there. Now, some people, they've got a court order. They can't post pictures of their kids. But you can still tell they're still talking about going to the baseball game. They're still talking about this. They're talking about how exciting it is to be a parent. If I look at somebody's Facebook page and I see 150 posts talking about how great they are and what they're doing and how they're changing the world, my attitude is not that they're a narcissist, but they're kind of leaning that direction. They're more interested in making names for themselves than being a parent. Guys, the whole reason we're doing this is for the kids. There's people, I think, Chris Cole was one of them, I think. I can't remember what we were talking about, whether it was today or November, but something that he's got his kids for. And he told me, he's like, Mark, I got my boys that day. And I applauded that, okay? I was excited. That's not an excuse. That's the reason we're doing this. So I told Chris, man, hey, you better believe it, man. Kids come first. I think Josh Thomas was the same way. There have been times when he was like, Mark, I'd love to, but I can't because I'm dad at that point. Guys, that's what we need. Your kids come first. Everything else. With Levi, even though I do all this traveling, Linda Jones will let you know, I arrange my schedule around Levi's schedule, not vice versa. Now, 1 or 2 times a year, something comes up, but that's it. Do you know Levi has run cross country for 5 years now? 5 years, over 67 races that he's been in. I've missed 2 in 5 years. I don't have to brag on me. I sincerely don't. But it's the principle that my son comes first. If there's any way humanly possible, I'm arranging my schedule so I'm back in town on the day that he has a race because he's my priority. And if I look at somebody's page and they're trying to get a statue erected for themselves or a plaque or something named after them, but they're not doing anything with their kids, that's not who I want in DC. Once again, the ego has got to be gone. We need team players, not sabotagers. I want edification. I don't know if you noticed, but did you notice when I brought Vince on and Josh, and they were like, man, Mark, we learned so much from you and we're so grateful. And I love that, not from the ego standpoint, but I love the fact that you realize how much easier it is for me to help get them followers to follow them if they're setting the example that they follow me. In the shared parenting community, what we've been noticed over the last 11 years, what I've noticed is we get people that for 2 weeks, they think you're the greatest thing in the world, and then they want to start their own group. I'm going to start my own group now. And so now we have 4,300 groups. When I started, there were about 200 groups in the shared parenting community 11 years ago. There are now 4,200 groups because everybody wants to do their own thing. What if we all team together? Now, we need to balance things, but I want Josh to get credit. I want Vince. They're not like Easter boys or something like that. We're team members. But the more they edify me, the more I can edify them, because my goal is for Josh to build a team so that I don't have to deal with 150 people. If I can deal with about 10 leaders and each of them has 10 leaders, the way I do that is Josh builds me up to his team. And their attitude is, well, Josh's been around a long time and he still thinks he needs to tap into Mark. Maybe I need to tap into Josh. That's my thing. Or if people think they're going to break off, I can go to them and say, hey, just so you know, Josh has been with me a long time. He knows what he's doing. I don't have time to work with you separately. I need you working with Josh. And the same thing with Vince. Vince is phenomenal. And Anthony is another great one. Anthony Perez up in Idaho. I don't have time to deal with 30 people in Idaho. But I do have time to meet with somebody who's hungry and loyal and a team player like Anthony. So if I can develop a team of Anthony of about 10 people, Anthony keeps edifying me. I edify Anthony to his team. Now they get some leaders, and their attitude is, well, my leader listens to Anthony, and Anthony listens to Mark. Their attitude is, hey, why don't we gather around the campfire? We're a lot stronger. So I'm looking for those edifiers. The last thing, and this is a touchy one, I need to know if you have a criminal record. Okay. Some of you, Anthony, you're watching, dude. Hey, I appreciate you very much, Anthony. You are huge. He's coming with me to DC, coming with me down to Dallas. Some of you, there was a false allegation out in the criminal record. And so there still will be a use for you, especially you can always meet with your own member of Congress. But what I don't want to do is be blindsided where we've got somebody. We got a guy in St. Louis that I won't mention him, but about a little while back, he got arrested for kicking in a guy's door and holding a gun up to him. Okay, just so you know, that's not the person we want going to see. There's nothing worse than meeting with a legislator and finding out we didn't do our research and they pull up a case net file and say, well, hey, this person here, this is one of your team members. That doesn't give us a good look. So I need to know so we are not blindsided in any way whatsoever. Now, I am looking for some volunteers in several different areas because, like I said, one of my goals that I'm working on self-improvement is delegation. Linda Jones can tell you I'm horrible at that right now. The reason is I've delegated too much in the past sometimes, and people created chaos and problems. So what I'm trying to do is strike a balance. I'm going to delegate a little task at a time and then see how people do. Are they still a team player, not recreating the wheel, or encroaching on 20 different areas? If they do just this task, like I asked, and they follow the procedure, then, hey, they may get some more responsibility and give them a little bit larger role. But I am looking to develop some people for a team. Number one, we need graphic designers bad. I need a team of 12 to 15 people that we're going to have team meetings to go through branding. Branding and messaging is critical. I need people with a marketing background that understands. We can't have 10 people creating names all using 10 different fonts, all using 10 different colors, using different branding ideas. If we have a team, if you see something with Coca-Cola or McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, you can recognize it from a mile away on a billboard, as you're going down the highway. That's what we need. So the stuff we're going to be creating, it is 100% critical that everybody on the graphic team understands this is the font that we are all going to use. This is the color scheme that we are all going to use. Here's the parameters that we're going to use. We're going to use this size font. We're going to use this size picture. We're always going to have the picture on the right-hand side. We're always going to have the the website at the bottom and a banner across the bottom. So we need a graphics team but the goal is to have enough people that one person doesn't have to do everything. We've been very fortunate. Nicole Anderson, bless her heart, she's been phenomenal over the last year. Almost every good graphic that you see me, it comes from Nicole. But we need a graphics team. We need a video team, really, really bad. People can edit videos in reels. I need at least 5 to 7 people because we got some things that we need very big in the short term. Once again, I need people to understand branding, though. So it'll be a while we get to learn each other. Like, I was watching Charlie Kirk. If you haven't watched it yet, do a search on YouTube for the last interview by Charlie Kirk. He did an interview about a week before he got shot. A genius video on branding, messaging, and systematizing. But in the video editor, same thing. I'm going to be very picky early on, but my goal is, the reason is I got to make sure that everything, because the graphics, the videos, the invitations, the meetings, the events are all part of the same puzzle. We can't have chaos where everything is, it needs to really look like everything came together in one picture. So we need video editing. I need some administrative help. People can help me type things into a database and follow up on things for me, that I can give them a checklist that, hey, we've got a reception coming up in DC. I have 37 items. I've got sheets all over. Those little peel off sheets that you get, the big Post-it type things. I've got sheets that I'm looking at right now. I've got a sheet for DC, and I've got a checklist of 37 items that need to be done by November 4th for Washington, DC. I need people that can help me with those tasks. Hey, Mark, we've got task number 1, 7, 13. We're falling behind. This one was supposed to have been done by this date. So I need administrative people that can help. Website design. We're going to be developing a new website. So I need people like that. Josh, I love that attitude. You need a water boy, guys. That's the attitude. Like I said, when I go to National Association of Christian Lawmakers, I would gladly be the water boy for Jason Rapert, because the bigger Jason, or the towel boy, Brian, why? Because the bigger Jason Rapert gets, if I'm hanging on to his coattails, the more connections I have. Same way Ed Martin. Some of you know Ed Martin right now is one of the highest people in the Department of Justice in the entire country. Probably one of the top 5. I mean, literally, he reports directly to President Trump and Pam Bondi. There's not many people that are above, the only person above him is President Trump and Pam Bondi. Thank God I built that relationship with Ed years ago to where he trusts me. He doesn't question my intentions. He knows I am 100% loyal. And man, did I get fired up and excited like a little brother every time Ed got a promotion along the way. Why? Because I'm tied in with Ed, and the more I can push Ed in, the more he can help me out. And just so you know, that paid off for us on November 4th. I'm not going to say publicly, but I'll just tell you, something huge, and I mean huge, is going to happen on November 4th that would not have happened without the connections that I built with Ed Martin and the friendship and the loyalty that I built with Ed Martin. Thank God that I did that. Thank God I didn't get jealous. Well, Ed's getting more attention than me. Ed's getting more recognition. No, I'd gladly be the towel boy and the water boy for Ed Martin any day of the week. Why? Because where he is right now, he did something that's going to help all of us out. So anyways, okay, so I think I've covered that. Now, we've only got 19 minutes to wrap up with what's going on in DC. Guys, I'll tell you, this is pretty exciting. As I mentioned, the 5 ingredients, HHS, the House, the Senate, the White House, and the major national political organizations outside the shared parenting community. The ones that have a $20 million a year budget, the ones that, American for Prosperity with a $74 million a budget. That's what we're trying to link up with. We got 5 things that we've got in place. Now we're ready to go to DC. Now, let me tell you what's going to happen. Ed Bartlett, who's the head of Davia, I don't know if he's watching or not, but Ed is, in my mind, one of the best experts in the country on gender equality. And so he's formed his organization, Davia. We have calls on a regular basis. We got a conference call tomorrow morning again with him. But he's pulled together about 120 international organizations that we all have 2 conference calls a month on. And then Ed and I have a leadership call every week on Mondays. But Ed, it's Domestic Abuse and Violence International Alliance. It talks about that domestic violence isn't just a women's issue. It's men that get affected too. And so he does a lot of work on gender equality, things like that. He had planned an event on Tuesday, November 5th, where he's got a press conference going on. He's got some things going on in the afternoon. And so he called and asked me for some help. He's like, Mark, I don't have any connections with legislators. Can you get some legislators to show up? So we've got some people showing up. We've got a press conference, I believe, at 1 o'clock. Then he's got a program. He's got me speaking. He's got Don Hubin from NPO. He's got Dr. Bill Burnett from Vanderbilt University. So he's got a whole lineup of speakers. And he's got that planned. But my attitude is, if I'm going to D.C., I'm getting something done. I'm not spending airfare and hotel if I'm not meeting with people. So when I was in D.C. a couple of weeks ago, I started dropping seeds to a couple of friends of mine that are in Congress and said, hey, can you help me out? So this is what we're doing. We're bringing a team of people for the first time ever. And like I said, if you haven't watched, didn't listen to the vetting process, I need you to rewatch it. I'm going to put a list up there, but I need you to, number one, make sure that you volunteer for the task, not to be the CEO of the whole project. I need the positive attitude. I need you to be adaptable. You've got to be a member of that legislative leadership development program. No exceptions. You got to be committed to personal growth, social media, no drama, zero tolerance for that. Don't talk about people, talk about solutions. No attention seekers. You've got to be an edifier, no criminal record. But as long as you have the vetting process, on Tuesday, we're going to be meeting with different teams, members of Congress and their staff. So I'm putting teams together right now of 3 to 5 people. You don't want more than 5 because then it's an invasion. It's not a meeting. The goal is to build relationships. You can't build a relationship with a legislator and build rapport if you have 8 people sitting in an office firing off things. So we're going to have a specific tasks too. Every one of the 5 is going to have a part. So one person's going to be the opener, and they're going to lay the groundwork of what is Title 4D, how did it come about? And we're going to have a 60-second spiel that every person who's person number 1 is going to say the same thing. No different than Chick-fil-A. The fries are the same. They're waffle fries at every Chick-fil-A across the country. The drive-through is the exact same pattern at every single Chick-fil-A. So if you're person number 1, you literally, it doesn't matter which team you're with, we could switch people up at the last minute, and it's going to be the same thing for every single team. Person number 1 is going to say the exact same thing, giving the background of Title 4D. Then another person is going to talk about what are the 5 performance incentive pool factors to determine the funding mechanism. They're going to go through that. Then the next person is going to talk what are the problems with those 5 factors and why do they need to be changed. Then another person is going to talk. So everybody's going to have their role to play. It's going to be very well defined. That's why I need you a part of that legislative leadership development team. We don't want chaos. We want a very orchestrated strategy when we go in. If you're in the military and you go to war, you don't just say, let's just show up and just invade them and see what we can get. No, you've got a strategy. You got an exact strategy when you're going into the battlefield. So with that being said, we're going to have a breakfast to kick things off on Tuesday morning, the 4th, at the Holiday Inn in National Capital, the Capital National Mall Holiday Inn. So we're going to have an early morning breakfast. Just so you know, if anybody's been to DC with me, I start early and I stay late. And I put in, I'm not exaggerating. Some of you have seen me. I'll put in 18, 20 hours a day every single day when I'm in DC. So if you're coming in, I need to fly in on Monday night because we're hitting the ground running Tuesday. If you're not there for the breakfast meeting, you're not part of the team because you need to have the last minute plans. And we're going to hand out the one-sheeters. There's 6 different issues, sub-issues that we're going to be going through. We're going to have an orchestrated strategy for how to use those sheets. We're going to have a trifold that we're going to be using, that everybody's using the same thing. So there's a breakfast meeting that morning at 6:30 in the morning to kick things off. And then immediately we're heading over to the Hill just down the street. So we're going to have teams of people. Then that evening, if you're interested, now there's going to be some money on this. Most of you know, like I said, it takes money. And I'll just tell you, you want to lose respect immediately for anybody who gets mad about somebody trying to raise money to make a difference. I'll tell you what, the best doctor in the world gets paid for being a doctor. Your pastor, if you have a church, you donate money to the church. Well, it takes money to go to DC to make these kind of things happen. And I'll tell you what, you're an idiot if you think we're going to compete with the Bar Association and the domestic violence groups that are spending millions and millions and millions of dollars while you're trying to be so cool, going to a bar, getting drunk, saying, well, why is Mark charged if he believes in this stuff? Why? Because I'm trying to overcome the image that you created. I'm trying to get us on par with a Family Research Council that spends $26 million a year lobbying, on a par with Americans for Prosperity that spends $76 or $74 million a year. And we can't do it nickel and dime. We've got to move up to the big leagues. You can't have an event in Washington, D.C. at a VFW with a bunch of folding chairs where the metal creaks every time somebody gets up to go to the bathroom. In Washington, D.C., you've got to have something at the highest level. Well, I'm not going to name the place, but there's one place in Washington, D.C. that is the place that if you're going to have a reception legislators or members of the White House, this is the place. It's a private club. Membership is over $100,000 a year for membership. A lot of people are like, God, that's crazy. Yeah, it is. It's in Bush's Bedminster House with Will Scharf and Ed Martin. And lunch one day with one of the members, and he told us his membership was $350,000 for membership. That's crazy. But in Washington, D.C., there's a private club used because it's a very vetted club. And so members feel very comfortable. No pictures allowed. There's no press allowed. You've got to sign some use the facility, but it's a very high-end club. And you have to have a member of the club reserved. You just can't call out of the blue and say, yeah, I'd like to rent a room. I'm going to have an event there. Well, no, you better find somebody who has $100,000 to be able to use their membership. But just so you know, if somebody spends $100,000, it's not like, hey, can I borrow your car to go to the doctor? They're very protective. So just so you know, we have reserved 100%. It's on the books. November 4th in the evening, we've got that club. That alone will give credibility because every member of Congress, people in the White House, other organizations, they all know when you mention son of a gun, you got that club, you're no longer at the VW Hall with folding chairs. You're up there with the biggies. Now, traditionally, most people have it there because it's usually between $8,000 and $15,000 to have a small event at that venue between, because you have to pay the fee for the venue if you're not using a member's name. You have to pay an event fee, and then you also have to pay for the catering and everything. So all in, it's going to be about between $8,000 and $15,000 that night on expenses before we come close to breaking even. Now, traditionally, most events at that club are about $2,000 to $5,000. So members show up, and there's, say Americans for Prosperity has an event, or Norquist has an event with American Tax Reform. It's good in DC that it's about 2,000 a person to be able to get them. But they do that because they're with one or two members of Congress, and they have direct access, which is hard to do. It's not like going to a state capitol where you can just walk in an office. At the federal level, you're not going to get too much one-on-one FaceTime at a private room with a legislator. Just so you know, I've got 4 legislators confirmed. That's almost like, for those that were at our St. Louis event, Linda Jones will tell you, darn impressive. Almost 2 years ago today, actually, when we had 26 legislators in a room for the shared community to celebrate our Missouri bill that we passed. That was huge. Huge. We now have more, I promise you, but we now have 4 members of U.S. Congress. That alone is the heard around the world for the shared community. It has never happened. I've got 3 members of the White House administration going to be there too. That is huge, guys. That elevates us. So I am looking for a donation. So it's not like $5 and get in. Guys, we got to raise at least $15,000 just in case to make sure we cover the cost. But the goal is to raise enough money so we can pull off what we're going to do in Dallas in December. Because December is going to help every single country. We are going to pull off the largest meeting in history of legislators across the country from all 50 states at one event for shared parenting. And your state will be included. I can promise you, we're going to get legislators from every state in what we're doing, but we need some funds to be able to pull it off. So, so we are having a reception. So if you do have the money, I wouldn't have that kind of money without people helping out. But if somebody does have the funds to say, you know what, I'll get to the other side, I can help out with something like that, I'd like an invitation, shoot me an email. Just so you know, I don't know, Brian, if you can type in there in the thread, but my email is starnetmark@yahoo.com. So starnetmark@yahoo.com. In the subject line, make sure in all caps, I need you to put November 4. And then if you want to go to the VIP section, put that in all caps because I need to reach out because that's going to be a limited number. There will probably only be 30 people invited to that private reception, and that's it. So once those have been allocated, that's it. So if you're interested in the VIP reception, shoot me a message and let me know, and I will get in contact with you. So make sure in the subject line, put November 4, and then if you're interested in the reception, if you're interested in lobbying, just put November 4 in all caps. reception, make sure you put VIP reception on the subject line too. But send an email to sarah@mark@yahoo.com. So that'll be that evening. And I can't promise you, but I am working on a pretty good chance. Some of you know I got a chance to go to the White House a couple weeks ago. I've got a couple of good friends. What I think tuned in here that I won't call them out, but I'm really proud of mine from Missouri, has worked on some campaigns, worked on Trump's campaign, rose through the hierarchy of the campaign staff, and is now the director of one of the biggest departments. Matter of fact, when I was at the White House, it was kind of, we're talking outside his office, and he's like, to kill me, but he said, I'm literally going to the Oval Office right now to meet with the president at 11 o'clock. And Matt, who's another friend of mine, Matt went there, and, I forget who else. Oh, Brett was another one. Three of my friends, all three of them got invited to the Oval Office. I couldn't go to something like that. Just, I'm not to that level yet. But so it's kind of funny to sort of wait around to meet with him afterwards. But I can't promise yet, so I don't want to get people's hopes too much. This is for sure going to happen. But there's a slight chance I can get them to do a private policy briefing. Once a week on Wednesday, they do these policy briefings for either the mega donors, the whales that raise $100,000 or more for organizations, or they're the head of large organizations, big influencers. They do these policy briefings, and it's a very vetted organization or group of people to get in. But I was the one 2 weeks ago, and what they do, they bring in about 5 department heads from the White House. So each one directly reports to Trump. And they give you a briefing of about 5 to 7 minutes of what the role is, what the department is, and how they can help you out with your issues. So it's a very neat experience, first off, just to be at the White House, but to be able to have that. So my goal is I want a private briefing just for your community. So we're working on that right now. I can't you. If we do, it's going to be a very limited group. It's probably going to be only 12 or 15 of us to get to go. But you kind of need the experience, and that way more of you can get a chance instead of just me and doing Facebook Lives outside the White House. A couple of you are going to be with me in the White House, so it's going to be kind of cool if I can pull that off. So anyways, that pretty much wraps it up. If you're interested in going and being a part of it, I'll be doing by the way, not the White House every trip, not the reception, but I'm going to be doing lobbying trips about every other month in DC. So don't feel like, man, if I miss November, I'm never going to be able to go again. No, every time I go to DC for this one, I'm going to bring people with me. So if you're interested in the November one, I got to put that team together quick because we need to get you need to understand the playbook. So we're not creating chaos. So if you do want to be a part of the November trip to DC, I need you to register for the Legislative Leadership Development Program tonight, because tomorrow night at 7 o'clock time is the next town hall where I'm going to be covering details of the hotel we're staying at, the logistics, how we're going to orchestrate our meetings, because the campus is 1 mile from the end of the Rayburn House building to the Hart Senate building. So you can't book one here, one meeting there, one meeting here, one meeting there. You're not going to have time to get around campus. So there's an orchestrated strategy to how we schedule our meetings. And I'm going to go through a lot of that, getting you to understand the culture of DC and how to get around. So if you're interested in November, you've got to register by tonight or tomorrow morning. If you're interested, go to stlmarkludwig.com. Look for the thing that says memberships, and LLDP, Legislative Leadership Development Program, is what you're looking for tomorrow night. Other than that, once again, I do want to thank Brian Lee. Like I said, I can't tell you enough. I get these shiny stuff on. I should have put usually when I do TV interviews, I got a makeup thing where you just go boom, 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 boom. But apparently I got quite the little shine. I apologize for that. But I do want to thank Brian Lee. Brian works his tail off for us. I want to thank him. I do want to thank Family Reunion, who has helped quite a bit with a lot of the expenses for a lot of the trips I get on. I want to thank some of my inner circle guys. Like I said, Anthony, Josh, Vince, Daniel, Garrett Mees here in St. Louis, Slim Jones, Chris Cole. Like I said, you guys are dynamite to work with. Sean, people off. Obviously, Ryan Powell. I don't know if Ryan's still on. I saw Ryan on earlier. I said this earlier, but when I was at the White House, every employee of the White House has these binders that they use. I could be wrong, but I don't think that you can get them anywhere. I think you have to get them through the White House. So I got one for me and I got one for Ryan Powell, because Ryan's always been such a great friend. So I shipped it to him, so I'm hoping that I didn't ruin the surprise. But if I did, Ryan, I think tomorrow, if you didn't get it yet, you should get it in tomorrow's mail. But the two of us, I think, the only shared parenting community that has the official binder of the White House to take notes on. I really do want to thank Ryan. He has just been such a great guy to work with. So thanks to every single one of you. If you are interested, like I said, let me know quick, because I'm putting my list together now, especially the VIP reception, because I 30 people. If anybody can help out with finances, any help would be appreciated, guys. And like I said, I know I get these Yahoo guys. I'm sick of answering to that. Okay, how much change did you get? Ironically, the guy who yells the most hasn't done a darn thing. He claims he helped pass the Missouri bill. I'll just tell you, Linda Jones was there with us. That guy didn't do a darn thing. He was not at a single meeting with legislators with us when we organized the strategy for that Missouri bill that passed, SB 31. He was not in a single one of our orchestrated strategy meetings with the team. Okay? I'll tell you what, he hasn't done a darn thing. Okay, I've gotten results, not to sound like an ego head, but I'll tell you what, look at my Facebook page, look at the results we're getting. The doors are open. And if you don't believe me, look November 4th, and when you see the results we're coming out at night. If you can help out with some of these trips, I greatly appreciate it. My PayPal is starnetmark@yahoo.com. The Venmo is Mark-Ludwig-18. The Zelle 314-814-0977. And I know some people think, well, gosh, I don't have $100 to send. Well, it's exciting when I get $100. So if anybody has, I appreciate it. But look, the people who send the $5, the $10, can you imagine if every person who watches this or the rebroadcast of it sent in $10 or $20? Guys, it would be game changer. Just so you know, starting in November, we will have finally a foundation set up to send the money that I'm not even on the finance committee. So you won't be able to complain about what are you doing with the money. Guys, I am on the receiving end of that money. There is a finance committee that will be making all decisions starting in November. I'm not going to release all the details of that, but that's what the kickoff is for. That reception November 4th is to announce the new organization to raise funds as a 501c3. I will not be a part. Mr. Yahoo man that holds guns to people and goes out drinking at bars, I have nothing to do with finances. The finance committee is in charge of all of that. So anyway, thank you every single person for all the work, all the teamwork that you guys have done. I appreciate every single one of you. And I will look forward to seeing you guys, like I said, become a member of that Legislative Leaders Development Program. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, we will be having a town hall meeting. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I will talk later.
They said sit down, but we stood tall. Tired of the echoes in the courtroom hall. Fathers, mothers, kids in the fray, fighting for balance in a lopsided play. Thank you for watching, thank you for the fight. 50-50 love, it's a parent's right. Change is coming, we'll see that day. Equal shared parenting, lighting the way. The scales of justice leaning too far, but we're the voices breaking the bar. Family law reform, it's more than a phrase. It's a revolution setting hearts ablaze. And never give up, don't let it slide. Your voice matters, the truth's on your side. Thank you for watching, thank you for the fight. 50-50 love, it's a parent's right. Change is coming, we'll see that day. Equal shared parenting, lighting the way. They can't silence what's real, what's fair. Hope's a spark, we're the flame in the air. Shattered lives, peace back to whole. Every voice counts, every heart, every soul. Thank you for watching, thank you for the fight. 50-50 love, it's a parent's right. Change is coming, we'll see that day. Equal shared parenting, lighting the way.